All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about something that is genuinely a game changer in the world of medicine. It's a new framework from the FDA, and it's designed to solve one of the toughest, most heartbreaking problems in drug development.
You know, this question almost sounds like a philosophical riddle, but for people with what are called ultra-rare genetic diseases, this isn't a thought experiment, it's a very real and very frustrating wall. The entire system for approving drugs is built on huge clinical trials, which is just impossible when you're the only patient.
And we're not talking about minor issues here. These are often severely debilitating, life-threatening conditions that move fast. Patients are left with literally no options. So the question becomes, how on earth do you tear down that wall?
Okay, so to really get why the FDA's new approach is so brilliant, you have to understand the old problem. For decades, the absolute gold standard for proving a drug safe and effective has been the big randomized clinical trial. But what do you do when the entire patient population couldn't even fill a phone booth?
This table really lays out the massive shift we're seeing. On the left, that's the old world. You need thousands of patients for those giant trials. For these N-of-1 diseases, as they're called, it's a non-starter. But look at the right. A trial size as small as 1, backed up by other solid scientific evidence, all of a sudden, the impossible becomes possible.
And this is where the FDA basically wrote a new playbook. They realized, okay, if we can't get statistical power from thousands of people, what if we build an ironclad case based on incredibly deep, plausible science for just one person? And that playbook is called the Plausible Mechanism Framework. The name pretty much says it all, right? The whole idea is to prove that the mechanism, the way the drug works at a biological level, is so well understood and so perfectly targeted to the disease's root cause that you can be highly confident it's working, even without a giant pile of clinical data. And this line, right from the FDA's official guidance, is the one that changes everything. It says one single investigation. That means a well-designed study, maybe with just one patient, can be enough for approval, as long as you have that strong supporting evidence. It's a total revolution in how regulators think. Now, this whole framework was really created with these incredible new technologies in mind. On one side, you've got genome editing, think CRISPR, which is like having molecular scissors that can go right into your DNA and fix a specific typo. Then on the other side, you've got things like RNA-based therapies such as ASOs. These are a bit different. They act more like a roadblock, intercepting the faulty genetic message before it can create a disease-causing protein. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you actually do this? How do you build a case so strong that the FDA will approve a drug based on one person's results? Well, it all rests on 5 key pillars. This is basically the checklist for making it happen. First, you have to know the exact genetic problem and be sure it causes the disease. Second, you design your drug to be a silver bullet for that specific problem. Third, and this is clever, you have to know exactly how the disease would normally progress without any treatment. Fourth, you prove your drug hit its target. And finally, number 5, you show that the patient actually got better in a way that lines up perfectly with the therapy. Now, that confirmatory evidence we keep talking about is crucial. This can't be based on a hunch. We're talking about hard data from the lab, proving the drug does what you think it does, data showing it's hitting biological markers of the disease, and a whole bunch of preclinical work that shows it all works exactly as designed. The whole journey for these one-of-a-kind medicines is incredibly focused. It's really boiled down to 3 main stages: the lab work, the trial itself, and, of course, actually making the thing. So everything, and I mean everything, starts in the lab. Before a drug can even get close to a patient, scientists have to prove it works in principle and that it's safe. They use some really cool new methods for this, like organoids, which are essentially mini organs grown in a dish from the patient's own cells. It's the ultimate way to test the drug and spot risks ahead of time. And that leads us to the clinical phase, where the stakes are just incredibly high. Think about this. For these individualized drugs, the very first time it's used in a person is often designed to be the one and only trial needed to get it approved. There are no do-overs. So here's how they solve that no control group problem I mentioned. It's ingenious. The patient becomes their own control. By meticulously tracking how their disease progresses before treatment, you create a baseline. That way, any dramatic improvement after getting the drug can be clearly tied to the therapy, not just dumb luck. And finally, there's the part that's easy to overlook but is a massive hurdle. You have to physically make the drug. The chemistry, manufacturing, and controls, or CMC, have to be just as rigorous and high quality for a single dose as they would be for a drug made for millions of people.
This means the whole process has to be rock solid and repeatable. The tests you use to confirm the drug's quality have to be proven to be reliable. You even need to figure out its shelf life. The good news is the FDA encourages using data from similar drugs, so-called platform technologies, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. It's a huge time saver.
So let's just zoom out for a second and think about what this really means. This isn't just some small update to the rules. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about medicine, moving from proving things with pure statistics to proving them with powerful, compelling biology. It all boils down to this number: 1. We now have a legitimate, regulated pathway to develop a custom-made cure for a single human being. This takes the idea of personalized medicine from a buzzword into a reality. And for the patients who are at the very center of this, it's nothing short of a miracle. This framework kicks open a door that has always been bolted shut. It offers a real, scientifically sound path to a potential cure for people who had absolutely no hope left. And you know what's really amazing? The benefit doesn't stop with that one person. The FDA is actively pushing for everyone to share their data, so the lessons learned from one person's treatment can help build a massive library of knowledge that helps everyone in the rare disease community. Each success paves the way for the next one. And that just leaves us with this incredible thought to ponder. For all of history, medicine has been about finding solutions for the masses. But now we have a real pathway to create a cure for just one. The question is no longer if we can do it. The real question is, what's next?